Something remarkable happened at a hearing today. I know that's unusual. Most people won't pick it up. That's okay. I do. Very remarkable. As a matter of fact, we're going to lead off with it. And it's not the Robert Kennedy hearing, although we want to deal with that too, how the Democrats didn't even let the man finish a thought. And but I want to get into some of what was done here with respect to this debate that took place between Ted Cruz and Tim Kaine. It wasn't really a debate. Tim Kaine had left the room, but nonetheless. Let's see here, Mr. Producer. I know I just saw your Tim Kaine cut. All right, here we are. So they're at this hearing today, and Tim Kaine announces, well, rather than me tell you, you got to listen to this. Listen very carefully. Cut 6, go.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their creator. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling. I think the motto over the Supreme Court is equal justice under law, the oath that you and I take, pledge to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not arbitrarily defined natural rights.
This is stunning. Anybody who's listened to the show for 30 seconds knows how preposterous this is. I'm going to let Ted Cruz provide his answer, which he did. He came into the hearing room. Kaine had already left. And I want to elaborate on this myself. But here's Ted Cruz at the hearing. Cut 7, go.
I would actually encourage observers to go back and listen to what Senator Kaine said. Because I have to say, I think was disturbing and showed much of where today's Democrat Party has gone wrong. So Senator Kaine said in this hearing that he found it a radical and dangerous notion that you would say our rights came from God and not from government. I just walked into the hearing as he was saying that, and I almost fell out of my chair. Because that radical and dangerous notion, in his words, is literally the founding principle upon which the United States of America was created. And if you do not believe me, and you made reference to this, Mr. Barnes, then you can believe perhaps the most prominent Virginian to ever serve, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, not by government, not by the Democratic National Committee, but by God, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." I have to say it is stunning to me that the principle that God has given us natural rights is now deemed by Democrats some radical and dangerous notion. Mr. Jefferson was right when he wrote those words. Government exists to protect those rights. But slavery was not okay when U.S. law allowed it. It was wrong then. It is wrong now. It is always wrong.
It is stunning that a United States senator, and not just from any state, from the Commonwealth of Virginia, would make the statement he made, that rights come from government. Anybody who believes that is a Marxist and a buffoon. Conservatives in every stage of life are faced with ever-increasing challenges to our values in the classroom, on campus, and at work. Prepare yourself with a solid understanding of our nation's founding principles and today's most important public policy debates. The Heritage Foundation created the Heritage Academy to help ensure that every conservative from any walk of life has the foundation and the tools needed to defend their values. This 8-week online fellowship includes policy lectures on the most pressing issues facing Americans today, live Q&As to learn from top experts in the conservative movement, and opportunities to connect with other conservatives around the country. Without conservatives grounded in truth and informed on the state of our nation, America as we know it cannot survive. So please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, and learn more about the Heritage Academy and how you can apply. That's heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Now let's break this down. Those of you who have On Power know about this already and listen to this program, but it's certainly worthy of emphasizing. Unalienable rights. That's what it says in the Declaration. What does that mean? That you have certain rights from God that are unalienable. There are certain truths that are eternal. Again, I write about this on Power. Tim Kaine rejects the entire founding of the American experiment. The entire founding of the American experiment. He thinks equality, the idea of equality, comes from government. The idea of liberty comes from government. No, that's not where it comes from. Here's what he won't say. It comes from the Judeo-Christian belief system. I've explained that Islamism, as others have pointed out who are Muslim, that Islamism, radical Islamism, is stuck in the 7th century. Hasn't gone through the Reformation. He rejects the Enlightenment. So when Tim Kaine talks about Sharia law, and this is the problem with Sharia law, he's right. But he completely rejects the American founding, which is based on the sovereignty of God, and that sovereignty which is birthed to his children on earth. And then the question is, what does all that mean? Which, again, I explain in the book, and I've spent 3.5 months talking about it here. This should shock the hell out of you. And yet it is, in fact, as Ted Cruz says, illustrative of the Democrat Party, a party that clearly rejects America and the American founding. This is why they have no problem with the 1619 Project and no problem destroying our monuments. This is why the Democrat Party is the house of Marxism and Islamism, among other isms. This is why. Tim Kaine doesn't even comprehend how America came to be, or he rejects it, one or the other, both of which are damning. Damning. Your rights come before a government. The idea of free will and liberty came before there was a government in this country. This clown has it backwards. He speaks like the Marxist. And it's his position that is akin to Sharia law. Except his God doesn't come from the Quran. It comes from his own mind. From his own mind. This is why these Democrats are egomaniacal, narcissistic, power-hungry, because they believe they are in charge of determining what your fundamental liberties and rights are. Now, they can destroy them. That's why I wrote the book On Power. But they don't have the slightest idea, or they completely reject the notion that this is bigger than them. Bigger than them. Sharia law is nothing like the law in a constitutional republic. Notice we talk about Judeo-Christian values and morals and beliefs, but we don't talk about Judeo-Christian law. There is no law. There's belief, there's faith, there's values, there's morality, but there is no law. In Sharia, there's law, the most minute law. The imposition of that law on all people, regardless of their faith, or any faith or no faith. That's not Judaism and Christianity. Tim Kaine is a coward. He's a fraud. He's a low IQ moron who's been in government forever. Here's a guy that was Attorney General of Virginia, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Governor of Virginia, a United States Senator now going on I don't know how many decades. And he either doesn't know or doesn't believe in the most fundamental, core, founding principle of our country. That your rights come from him. He's in the government. Your rights come from him. We wonder why so many people are utterly illiterate when it comes to the founding, utterly illiterate when it comes to the Declaration and the Constitution. How many members of Congress think like this man? Either because they're utterly stupid and illiterate, or their ideology is such. I dare say many, particularly in the Democrat Party.